Welcome back, everyone. I'm Austin Reville with 2F by C Tactical in our From the Vault series featuring unique historical firearms that come through our shop, as well as in our personal collection. And we have another machine gun for you today. I mentioned in the Mac 11 series that we had a lot of requests for the select fire guns or full auto guns in our inventory. And we're very lucky to have a few that we can bring to you. Some of historical significance, some are just modern M4 variants that are pretty cool to see. Today, we have this is a PTR 91, so it's an HK clone, but this would be the HKG3. That is what this is. It's a roller delayed battle rifle. And this is an assault rifle. So in the firearm world, everyone poo-poos assault weapons, rightfully so. Assault weapons do not mean anything. It's a too broad, no agreed upon definition, and really doesn't have a place in the firearm world. Now, an assault rifle is a select fire military battle rifle. That is what that is. And that is what this would be. These are very interesting designs. Now, these guns have a foot in the Second World War. So Germans engineers would actually dream up this weapon system, if you will, in the Second World War towards the end. 1945, the STG-45. So we're mostly familiar with the Sturmgewehr 44. Unfortunately, I do not have one to show you guys. I desperately want one, and I promise you I will get one day, and I'll get to show it off. As of right now, I do not have, and nor can I afford, an STG-44. But alongside it, shooting that same 8mm Kirch round, which is kind of an early mid-tier cartridge. It's the 8mm Mauser cartridge that they cut down, they neck down, or cut in half almost to get the fit in their assault rifle. And they developed a gun very similar to this, the STG-45, near the end of the war. It entered production. They had some made by the end of the war, but it did not see mainstream service. Came much too late. The war ended before it really reached full production. Not very many were made. Post-war, though, the engineers and stuff that made all these amazing weapons for Germany, get dispersed amongst the Soviet and West to dream up new weapons for the new Cold War that has entered. So some of these engineers ended up in France to develop prototype weapons. They would eventually adopt the few different rifles over the period of the Cold War, and they moved over to Spain. Now, Spain and Nazi Germany had a very cozy relationship there in 1945. So this was kind of a fit in some ways for them, and they really brought out the STG-5, or 45, excuse me, design and went to work utilizing the new 7.62x51 or 308 NATO cartridge. And that's where the CETME comes from. Now, we're lucky in the United States. There's lots of CETMEs thanks to like PTR, thanks to Century, that are parts kits rebuilds and semi-auto that are available on the civilian market. For the longest time, we were unavailable to get stuff like that. So it's very cool to see that kind of weapon system make it to the United States. Well, West Germany was looking for a new battle rifle, and they decided that they really liked the CETME in that 7.62x51 NATO cartridge, and they would like to build it. So they go out and get the rights and sell it to HK, and they come up with a G3, and that's what this is. This is a G3 variant, if you will, with the woods. This is I'm pretty sure that PTR uses original wood stocks because this certainly looks like it. As their parts kits rebuilds. So they would get a parts kit, reparkerize it, new receiver, originally semi-auto only. This is a post-sample select fire model. And then they give them to us and allow us to sell them on the civilian market in the semi-auto variant. It's very cool that we get to own a military battle rifle that served throughout the Cold War. So this is dreamed up in the 1950s. By the 1950s is when this really starts to take place. And it has a long service life. So this would go all the way up until the 90s, and the G36 would replace it. So it would go all the way up past the Cold War. This would be the main battle rifle of West Germany. So these rifles do feature some very common HK designs that we see in many, many things. So he's got the rocking lock open charging handle, non-reciprocating charging handle up here, that when you hit, It slaps forward, it closes the bolt, and you're ready to fire. Very similar to what we see on the MP5 and other HK variants. The receiver here is all one piece of bent sheet metal that has been welded. You have a removable trigger pack. The buttstock is fixed to this plate here. You pop these two pins out. They have spring-assisted cutter pins or plungers on the front. That's what holds them in place. And you just slide out your recoil spring that is attached to the rear of your buttstock and this bent metal receiver piece. Your trigger pack, again, very HK. Just slides right out just like this. So this is an SEF. So safe, semi, full. I'm going to mispronounce it as like Schultz or Schoss. I'm not, you know what? I'm not even, you guys are going to make too much fun of me trying to pronounce German here. But that is what this is. Safe, semi, full. White for safe, red for fire. If you think of Mission Impossible, was it 4 when they're in Dubai and he has the gloves and he's trying to climb, and Tom Cruise is trying to climb up the Dubai Tower, and Simon, the assistant, which is played by a comedian, which I think is hilarious, goes, just remember, blue's glue, red's dead. Very similar here. Red's dead, white is safe. That's all it is. But these trigger packs can be moved around. That's a very HK-like thing to do. And again, they just kind of, there's a shelf right here and a little spot in there that you rotate this in. The back shelf right here goes underneath the receiver and is held in place when you slide this piece up and through. So you just push that back in. You make sure it goes into the interior. You just got to make sure it's high enough into the interior of the bolt. Slide it on. You will push your 2 pins back in all the way through, and voila, your gun is ready to go. These are very, very cool guns. Now, in terms of the safe, semi, and full auto, these are chambered in 7.62 by 5.1, 308. Wildly uncontrollable in 308 at full auto. These are not particularly accurate and not exactly great as a machine gun. The 20-round magazine that you have with it, 25 rounds, typically somewhere in there. Obviously, that's not enough capacity to function as a light machine gun for like suppressive fire. It's also not really great. It's great as a squad automatic weapons or anything like that. So the full auto function is really not something that was used a ton. It's one of the reasons why we got rid of the M14. The M14 was originally a select fire variant, and we were like, well, you can't control it in full auto at 308. So they dropped it. In full auto, made them semi-auto only, and eventually it's like it still recoils a lot. So why don't we just go to the mid-tier cartridge 5.56? And that's virtually what happened, even though it was kind of late to these guys. 8 million of these were produced. So quite a bit of these were produced. Most of the ones we see in the United States are like PTR clones. They're made on HK tooling to HK specs. They will feature some HK parts like the grip here. The furniture and stuff are original HKG3 parts that they put on their guns, where they have reworked the receiver. And for the semi-auto versions, the trigger pack is semi-auto only, even if it says SEF. And when we got this one, you could rotate it to the full auto position, but the trigger was semi-auto only. It still only shot semi-auto. It's very similar to an AR, just because it says auto in the 3rd position does not make it a machine gun. There has to be internal machinery to make that work. These were, like I said, replaced by the G36 to that mid-tier rifle cartridge. And the United States is actually kind of going back. We got the MCX Spear, which we're going to do a video on, which is a full rifle, battle rifle cartridge firearm that we are issuing out to it's our new Army military rifle. This was designated as the M7 in the military. So we're kind of going backwards in time to something like this. We are moving away from the mid-tier rifle cartridge to the full rifle, battle rifle cartridge. Controversially, I would say, and probably unnecessarily, but that's just me. That's one guy's opinion. When it comes to the history of these things, the G3 has been used in all kinds of conflicts all around the world. Uh, you would see them pop up in Britain at times. Little do most people know that Britain actually ended up owning parts of HK for a while. So you would see the G3 pop up there. You would see it pop up in various other countries in Africa as well as Asia. Uh, they sold millions of these. Again, they made 8 million of them. And that number keeps going up because technically, like PTR, Zenith, and them are still making them. The CETME variants that you see from like Century and all, again, technically they're all kind of the same gun. So that number just keeps growing and how many of these show up. I have seen G3s in pictures in Ukraine right now being used, even though I'm sure the ones they're using were all made in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, most of them. I've seen pictures of them in Africa at various coups. You see them in Somalia, for instance. There are pictures with G3s. Very widely proliferated firearm. Very kind of forward thinking when you think about it, because it is a gun that has its feet in both World War II and the Cold War. It kind of straddles that line. It's not really an STG 45. There are some major differences in the design. That one used the MG 42 recoil system. This is a rolling delay or rolling block system, so very different. But still, it is that transition as they moved from, for instance, the FAL or from the bolt actions to the FAL, your first semi-auto select fire battle rifles into the mid rifle cartridge. This filled that gap for several different countries throughout the year. We're very fortunate to have one here in our inventory. When we get our indoor range up, we'll be able to show this off, and it may be up for rent. Like I said, it's kind of uncontrollable in 308, so you'll have to complete a class in order to just bang away on this thing. But we're very fortunate. Anyway, till next time, we look forward to seeing you. Keep tuning in, like, comment, subscribe. We will have some more machine guns to show off to you guys. Can't wait to show it. We also have some very cool other historical pieces that are coming through. I will have an SAR 80, which is an AR 18 variant in Select Fire here fairly soon. We might do a Terminator version with that because we have kind of all the Terminator guns from the first Terminator film. And me being an Arlen fan, might or might not do that. But we look forward to seeing you. Have a good one.